Good afternoon, Chairman Walden, Ranking Member Eshoo, and distinguished members of the subcommittee. Thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today. I spent roughly 25 years working as an investment analyst covering the communications industry before retiring as an analyst at the end of 2010. While I intend in the future to work as a consultant at the present time, I have no clients and I represent myself. The Internet has become central to the lives of most Americans, and it is certainly something I rely on almost every day for news, information, and communications. I agree with the stated goals of the FCC's order, the desire for an open Internet, for transparency, for an environment in which innovation and investment flourish to the benefit of both consumers and providers at all levels of the Internet ecosystem. I am concerned, however, that some aspects of the order will ultimately result in unintended but nevertheless detrimental consequences to investment and innovation, both at the edge and the core. And I think it's important to emphasize that the debate is not about whether blocking or degradation of service are good or bad. It is about whether they are more likely to occur through the intentional actions of broadband Internet access providers or through lack of investment. That's really what the debate boils down to. The order appears to be premised on the view of the Internet ecosystem that assumes that the edge is embryonic and innovative and the core is mature and static. Application providers, including content and service providers, are left free to transform their business plans at will. One of their key inputs, transport, is provided to them free over the networks of broadband Internet access providers, carriers with whom they may compete at the application level. Conversely, the order restricts the carriers' flexibility in designing their business plans, limits their sources of revenue, dictates that they spend capital to expand the networks at the edge providers' will, and forces them to subsidize competitors who cannibalize their customer base. To characterize this as a transfer of wealth from broadband Internet access providers to application providers is accurate, but does not begin to grasp the problem for both parties. A transfer of wealth between two independent parties can be beneficial to one at the expense of the other. A transfer of wealth that will ultimately cripple the party on which the other relies for its very existence is profoundly harmful to both. Thus, it is the order's implicit assumption that it is possible to protect the edge at the expense of the core that concerns me most. The two are inextricably entwined. To protect the edge, it is vital to protect the core. Far more devastating to Google, Skype, and Netflix than being charged for transport is an Internet whose evolution and capacity are flash frozen for lack of investment. That's because their innovative applications can only follow a step behind the network's capacity and quality. Networks have a voracious and unending need for capital. Just as no application can safely rest on its laurels, neither can networks. They must constantly be upgraded to satisfy the need for ever-increasing speed, quality, and security. But carriers can only raise capital to invest if they have enough revenues to cover their costs. To raise the necessary revenues, companies need flexibility. They need to be able to adjust their business plans to changing market conditions. Above all, they need to be able to charge for their services and to have the flexibility in doing so. Just as professional application providers cannot afford to give away their content and services for free, neither can the carriers. As an example, the FCC's model forbids Frontier to charge Skype at the wholesale level, even while Skype takes away the voice customers at the retail level from Frontier. If carriers are forced to charge only for broadband access because they can no longer charge for video and voice, the price of that broadband access will increase and investment will fall. That is damaging not only to the carriers, it is also damaging to the application providers that ride on the carriers' networks and are constrained by the capacity and quality limitations of those networks. My concern is that there's a false dichotomy that drives the net neutrality debate, that views the edge as separate from the core, as needing to be protected from the core, as able to prosper only at the expense of the core. In fact, because innovation at the application level is so completely tied to investment and innovation at the transport level, the edge can only exist if the core prospers. The best way to encourage innovation, investment, and jobs at the edge is to also promote innovation, investment, and jobs at the core.
Dr. Kovacs, thank you for your testimony. We appreciate it. Next is Dr. Shane Mitchell-Greenstein, PhD, the Eleanor and Wendell Hobbs Professor at the Kellogg School of Management, Northwestern University. Dr. Greenstein, we welcome you. Look forward to your comments.